No, even I didn't think I'd be making more than 130 videos. This has gotten a little bit wild, but as long as there's a few people that want to watch each one, I'm going to do it. I'm going to continue to make videos as long as there's, if it gets to the point where I'm getting 3 or 4 hits on each video, I'll probably quit. But as long as I'm getting 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or whatever, then, then I'm going to do it until I run out of topics. And I'm not running out anytime soon from the looks of it. And so it's a little bit spooky here. I wanted to put this one on before I forget because I keep forgetting to do it and I haven't written it down on my lists. And I still say my lists have lists. I stand by that. So I don't have to carry anything around in my brain because it's all down on these lists. But fudge or drudge? I was just thinking, it's been a long time since I made fudge. I don't crave it. I crave Hershey's chocolate. But it would be really nice to have fudge in a time of trouble. And it's easy to make, and there's lots of other recipes out there that would be probably superior to this one, but this is an old standby that I think I have it memorized correctly because it's just twice as much sugar as it is milk. So if you took a 12-ounce can of condensed milk and you dump that in a pan, that's just 12 ounces, cup and a half, right? Yeah, 12 ounces is a cup and a half. Then you fill up the can again with water and dump that in. Now you have 3 cups of milk in your pan. So you're going to want 6 cups of sugar. So if you want to make the recipe smaller, you can do that. You can use a cup and a half of milk and 3 cups of sugar, right? Anyways, twice as much sugar as you have milk. 12 ounces is a cup and a half. Excuse me, but I would go ahead and dilute it. And then you cook that either to a softball stage on a candy thermometer, or you do the softball test, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But if you have cream of tartar, that would be nice to use, and I would probably put in, I'd probably put in the smaller batch with a cup and a half of milk, I would probably put in a quarter of a teaspoon, and with the larger batch, I'd probably put in a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. I have this recipe someplace on a card in my house, but I'm not going to find it anytime in the next 20 years. So we're just going to go with that. And if you want to put a little salt in there, you can, but that's your option. And I'm going to tell you what you can do with this recipe in a minute. But if you take a little on a spoon and you hold the spoon sideways and it starts to drip off the spoon in clumps rather than individual drips, then you're pretty much close to the hardball stage. If you take a cool saucer, it would actually be good to put the saucer in the fridge and take the saucer out of the fridge, but you don't have to do that. Just make sure you're not using the same saucer over and over again. If you take your spoon and dribble some on your saucer and do this back and forth, spread it back and forth across the saucer, and if it starts to solidify somewhat, then you're probably at the softball stage. And then remove the pan from the heat and let it sit for a while until it cools significantly. At that point, you can add different things to it. It's a great peanut butter fudge, and if I were doing a batch, I'd probably use almost a half a cup for the smaller batch and probably maybe 2/3 of a cup of peanut butter for the larger batch. But you can eyeball it. Just, get a little clump of peanut butter about the size of a couple of golf balls and you should be good. I'm a dump cook. But the important thing is to get it cooked to the right stage and then let it cool significantly. And then you begin to stir it and it will cool as you stir. But I would let it cool keep testing it. If you can put your finger in it and it burns your finger, you need to let it cool longer before you begin to stir it. And then at that point you can add, like I said, you can add peanut butter. The thing that I really, really like to add was take a jar of maraschino cherries and drain them pretty good and cut the cherries maybe in half or in quarters and stir that with no juice. Just stir the cherries into the vanilla fudge. So it makes a fine vanilla fudge. It makes a really great peanut butter fudge. You could put marshmallows and chocolate chips in there if you wanted to. You could put chocolate chips in there, but not till towards the end. After it's cooled significantly, then you can put in the peanut butter, the chocolate chips, and then as it begins to get thicker in the pan, make sure you start to scrape it out of the pan because it will harden pretty quick. Once it's begun to really thicken, you want it to lose some of its gloss. It will be very glossy. As you continue to stir it, it will start to thicken and start to lose its gloss, and then put it into a pan that's either been sprayed or had butter spread in it. and I would cut it while it's still warm. And if you just jot that down, you can use whatever quantities you want. It's fine to double it if you're careful and move. You know, you can try a trial batch and do a smaller batch first if you want to get the feel for it. But basically, and you can also take the spoon and hold the spoon down into a glass of cool water and lift it out and see if it begins to hold its consistency. It's not good if you overcook it, and it's not good if you undercook it. So you really need to get an eye for what the softball stage is like. Similar to making jam, which I'm going to talk about in another video. It is possible to make jam without pectin. I have done it before, but it's kind of tricky too. We'll talk about that when I'm in a good mood someday. We'll talk about the jam and the pectin. But for now, fudge or drudge, I would choose the fudge and not the drudge. So as long as you have some, I'm sure it could be done with powdered milk. I would not want to use fat-free powdered milk. I have some whole powdered milk in my storage. You can pick that up at Amazon.com, or you can, it's not cheap. The stuff I got in number 10 cans, but it's no longer available that way from where I got it from. Whole powdered milk is a great thing to have in storage, especially for children, because they need young children, they need the fat in their diet for brain development. Having said that, if you can get your hands on some whole milk powder, that would be fine, but you can pick up condensed milk like pet milk or carnation milk or a store brand milk, but you can get it either on sale or at a cheap grocery store for about 69 cents a can. At least at the time that I made this, which was just a little after St. Patrick's Day in March of 2011. 6 minutes and 45 seconds. I'm done. Have a great night, weekend, whatever.